All right, welcome into week 10, everybody. We've got some live football going on here that we're going to talk about in just a minute. But it's good to be back with everybody. Definitely excited to see the slate of games that we have today. Definitely some good matchups out there. Definitely some guys that should perform pretty well in fantasy as well. So, Brant, how are you feeling about this Sunday morning?
It's a beautiful Sunday morning. It's a little chilly up here in Illinois, but it's good to have a little Seahawk football on TV where I'm not having to, find a way to stream it and everything else. So it's a good way to start my morning. Hopefully we can come out with a win and actually continue to start. Lots of good games out there today. So I'm excited for this week.
Absolutely. I'm extremely intrigued by the fact that I don't have to watch my Falcons today. I'm not obligated to since they were on TV Thursday night. I was going to say they played, but they didn't necessarily do so. But I'm definitely excited to tune in and watch some of these other games this week. Definitely check in on some teams. Excuse me, some teams that I haven't gotten to pay too much attention to at this point, but definitely excited for that. So.
Yep. I'm gonna apologize right now if I get a little loud during this game. You guys should know about when that's happening if you're tuning in.
Well, that nobody should accuse you of being a silent secret weapon this week, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Right now, our defense doesn't seem to know they're even on the field right now.
Hey, Rashad White's taking it over. All right, got our first question in. Jared says, play Josh Allen or do I play Jimmy G? Worried Allen doesn't play the whole game.
That's a tough one there. Jimmy G's always a safe guy to play, especially with CMC there now. He gets a bunch of dump offs, so we know what CMC can do with the ball. But honestly, if Josh Allen plays, I don't know how you bench him. He's done so well in fantasy. He's got so many weapons there that even if he's not scrambling, he has all the breakout weapons and everything. So I think you have to roll the dice with Josh Allen in my mind. If you're sitting comfortably in your first or second place in your league, I think maybe you can play Jimmy G. But if you're in a must win, I think you have to play Josh Allen.
Yeah, for me, it just boils down to how comfortable are you going to be if you play Jimmy G and Josh Allen ends up playing and going for 30-plus points on your bench. Is that something that you can stomach? I definitely think there is a risk involved. I don't know how good his arm strength is going to be, but he does have playmakers there in Buffalo. If he gets the ball into their hands, it doesn't matter how deep he can get the ball. So I think I kind of agree with Brant here. You have to play him if he plays. But if for whatever reason you decide to go with Jimmy G, you have to be okay with the fact that Josh Allen could go off on your bench.
Absolutely.
Matt says Gerald Everett or Greg Dulcich. So you've got Dulcich against the Titans, and you've got Gerald Everett Sunday night against the 49ers.
Let's see. We got Dulcich going against the Niners. Niners pretty tough against tight ends, only averaging about 8 points per game. And then you got Dulcich going against Tennessee. I think you got to go with Dulcich. Tennessee's actually giving up the third most points on average to tight ends. So I like Dulcich just this week. They're coming off the bye as Denver was working and getting him more opportunities and everything else. So yeah, I think I actually go with Dulcich. I think he'll be more involved this week coming off the bye.
I like Greg Dulcich a lot. He's definitely emerging as one of Russell's favorite targets. Definitely good to see a rookie tight end developing there. But I actually go the opposite. I think I still lean Gerald Everett with probably no Keenan Allen, no Mike Williams. Josh Palmer looked pretty good. DeAndre Carter looked pretty good last week against my Atlanta Falcons. But Gerald Everett's becoming one of Justin Herbert's favorite targets. They're going to have to put points on the board this week to keep up with the 49ers. So I like Gerald Everett probably out of the two there. Walleye Wrangler says Trevor Lawrence or Daniel Jones at quarterback, and then he's got a tight end question. So let's break that one down first.
I'm going Lawrence. I like Lawrence's matchup against Kansas City Chiefs. I think he's going to have to air the ball out. He also has that great playmaker in the backfield of ETN that when the ball's in his hands, on dump off passes could definitely, take one to the house. And Kansas City isn't, really anything to sweat, as their secondary isn't the greatest. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence this week.
So talking about quarterbacks that have a great playmaker in the backfield, Daniel Jones also has that with Saquon against the Houston Texans defense, who I know is starting to improve. They're not necessarily the Houston Texans defense of old, but I still think there's something to this game this week for Daniel Jones. I slightly give the nod to Daniel Jones. I just don't know how much I trust Trevor Lawrence with him having to throw the ball a whole bunch. It just creates more opportunity for turnovers. So I think I like Daniel Jones this week, but it's by the slightest of margins.
Yeah.
At tight end, go ahead.
Excuse me. I don't know how much Daniel Jones is going to have to throw the ball against the Houston Texans with Barkley back there. Also is another reason that I do lean Lawrence.
All righty. Let's go to tight end. We got Tyler Higbee or another Dulcich question here. So you got Higbee against the Cardinals with potentially John Wolford as the starting quarterback, or you've got Dulcich against the Titans.
Yeah. That's going to be a tough one. It's actually really tough because you don't know. I think I have to lead Dulcich still because you don't know what's going on in LA. And if Stafford's out, I know we normally say they lean on their tight ends and running backs. Well, there's not really a running back there worth leaning on. And you have a guy named Cooper Kupp that everyone's going to lean on if Stafford's out. So yeah, I think I still have to go Dulcich here.
There's a new running back in that backfield this week that I'm very intrigued to see what he does in Kyron Williams. But yes, I agree with you. I think it's Dulcich in this one for me. And again, it's not particularly close just because I do think that if you're John Wolford and you come in and you want to win this game, you're going to try to get the ball into Cooper Kupp's hands more than anybody else. So I think I avoid Tyler Higbee this week with no Matt Stafford. Mando says, David Montgomery or D Swift or Jamal Williams, who to start in PPR?
Julio Jones touchdown. God. Monty Swift or Williams.
I'll go real. I'll just take this one real quick. It's David Montgomery for me. That Bears offense is starting to look better. And they get to play the Detroit Lions defense, which is a leg up on both Swift and Jamal Williams because those guys only get to play them in practice. So I'm taking David Montgomery out of the three just because I don't know how much run Swift is going to get this week and how much he's going to tear into Jamal Williams or vice versa. So I go Monty.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean Monty there. I know Herbert's, stealing – not Herbert. Herbert is stealing some touches from him. Sorry, I'm a little distracted by Seattle getting scored on. I'm going to lean Monty, though. I feel like his workload is pretty safe. We know what's coming out of the backfield there. And we're still not sure about Swift and Williams, how that's actually going to split or how healthy Swift is. So, yeah, I'm going to take Monty in that one, too. With both having missing pieces, Herbert or Danny Dimes.
So this is you've got Keenan Allen out, Mike Williams out again for the Chargers, and Danny Dimes is missing some guys as well. But he does have Wan'Dale Robinson and Brant. I know you were excited as hell to mention he's got Kenny Allen this week, which is absolutely a moot point. But I think out of these two, I probably still lean slightly to Justin Herbert just because he is a better quarterback. But I do like Daniel Jones's matchup a little bit better. So just because I think Joshua Palmer, we've seen enough out of Gerald Everett and Austin Eckler, but I still think you've got better weapons for Justin Herbert than you do Daniel Jones this week. So I go Herbert.
Yeah, I'm going to lean Herbert too. I think that they're gonna be just fine with the receiving options they do have. So yeah, I lean Herbert there. And like I said, I don't know how much Danny has to throw this week. We saw Derrick Henry just completely annihilate Houston's rush defense, and we know Barkley could do the same. So I'm going to lean Justin Herbert there.
Okay. Jared said, need a flex PPR. Ayuk, have Debo in already, or CEH if McKinnon is out. If McKinnon is out, I do like CEH this week.
Yes.
Just because instead of having three guys rotating in and out of that backfield, you'll get more of a share for CEH in both Isaiah Pacheco. So if McKinnon is officially ruled out, which last I saw, I think it's a game time decision, you go with CEH.
Yeah, I lean CEH also. I would absolutely hate to have Debo and Ayuk in. So yeah, I'm actually going to lean CEH if McKinnon is out. But if McKinnon plays, I think you have to go Ayuk if McKinnon does play, because you don't know how that backfield's going to shape out, who's going to get the touchdown. CH has been, up and down now, we can say, because, he has kind of been irrelevant the last few weeks. So, yeah, if McKinnon's out, CH. If McKinnon plays, I think I go Ayuk.
Okay. Morning. I have Ano 2 quarterback starts. I have Burrow on a bye. Have Case, but Allen is playing, so I need your help. Walford or Henneke? He says Mahomes is his other guy, so super flex here, like he's mentioned. So you've got Walford against the Arizona Cardinals, or Taylor Henneke against the Philadelphia Eagles defense.
I'm actually going to go Walford if Stafford doesn't play, because I like his rushing upside. When we saw him play a few years ago, he actually played Seattle, and I got to see him actually play. And he does have very good rushing upside. Now he's not going to go out there running like Justin Fields or, Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson, but he does have the ability to get out of the pocket and make some people miss. And so I actually like Wolford this week. And Philly's defense has been so good this year that I don't know if I trust any quarterbacks against them.
Okay, fair enough. I think I still go Heineke. Again, he's got the rushing upside as well. I like Curtis Samuel a lot this year. Antonio Gibson's, really been there as a pass catcher recently. I think that the Commanders put some points up this week on the Eagles defense. I don't think they win, but I definitely think in divisional matchups usually end up being closer than they usually should. So I think I like Henneke in this one.
Yeah, Henneke does get Dotson back this week. I did see this morning also. Go.
David Smith said, I have Juwan Johnson. Any of these a better option? Jordan Akins, Kyle Granson, Mo Cox, or Noah Gray? Juwan Johnson's been one of my favorite sneaky tight end plays this year. I know a couple weeks ago on the podcast, I picked him up or suggested him as a waiver claim, and he's been pretty good since. So I'm not sure I take any of these guys, with Kyle Granson and Mo Cox, which one's it going to be in that game? Noah Gray, obviously, I think he's going to be good in the future, but he's still got Travis Kelce in front of him right now, so that does limit some things. So I go Juwan Johnson.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Johnson as well. I think he's the best out of those names you got there. So, yeah, give me Johnson. Like you said, he's been, a sneaky good play. So, yeah, I'll take Johnson over all those other names you got. Zach says,
go ahead.
Miles Sanders or CeeDee Lamb in the flex. I got to go CeeDee Lamb. I think this is, a very good offense. I think they're going to go out there. They're going to hang points up on Green Bay. So, yeah, I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb there in over Miles Sanders.
So this one for me, again, goes to, do you need a fairly safe player? Do you need a higher ceiling? The higher ceiling CeeDee Lamb, the much safer play is Miles Sanders. I think I give the nod to CeeDee Lamb just because he's going to get the lion's share of targets there in Dallas. But I think if you want just absolute safety, Miles Sanders is the guy. Mark says Khalil Herbert, Gabe Davis, or Gerald Everett in the flex and full point PPR.
I would have said Davis, but Allen scares me. Can he get the ball down there with his injury? Will he need to get the ball down there? I
think it's Gerald Everett for me.
I think Everett might be the safest play out of those guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to lean Gerald Everett too. I was gonna say Herbert, but we just talked about that he only cuts into the role, and I like Monty. So yeah, I think I have to lean Gerald Everett. It's the safer play out of those three.
Absolutely. Tony said, just offered this trade in my 1 point PPR keeper league. I would be getting ETN, Damian Pierce, and Justin Jefferson, giving up CMC, Chubb, and Stephon Diggs. Yes or no on the trade?
Jeez, though, please. Those are some names.
I'm gonna be frank. If you're Tony, if you're in contention right now, I want CMC, Chubb, and Stephon Diggs.
Yes, absolutely.
If you're not in contention, then I like the youth of Justin Jefferson, ETN, and Damian Pierce. I mean, just looking at the trade, ETN and Damian Pierce have both been absolute studs this year, but neither one of them are an upgrade over CMC or Nick Chubb. I do think Justin Jefferson I would rather have than Stephon Diggs at this point. But so really you're downgrading at wide receiver, or upgrading at wide receiver, but you're downgrading at running back. And I just think that I'd rather have, if I'm making a playoff push or if I'm contending, I'd rather have CMC and Chubb than ETN and Pierce.
Yeah, if I'm contending, I want the safety of CMC and Chubb. We know that ETN and Pierce have both came on, like you said, but yeah, the safety of how much work CMC and Chubb get. I want that safety. So yeah, if you're contending, you keep, CMC and Chubb. But if you're in, rebuild or trying to go youth, take Damian Pierce and ETN.
Absolutely. Zachary says flex one, Gabe Davis with a banged up Allen, George Pickens, Raheem Mostert with Jeff Wilson pushing down his value. This one's super easy for me. The Steelers are coming off a bye week. They've come out and said they want to get Jalen Warren more carries, and they've come out and said they want to get George Pickens the ball more often as well. I'm going George Pickens on this one.
Yeah,
I do think prior to the Jeff Wilson trade, I would have made the argument for Raheem Mostert in this one, but that you can't do that anymore. So I go George Pickens.
Yeah, I'm going Pickens here. We talked about that on the Wednesday cast about my projections for him. I think he has a very, very good week. I know, he saw 3 targets, didn't catch any this past, the week before the bye. But prior to that, he was seeing almost 6 targets a game. So I absolutely love George Pickens this week.
Marlon says Marquez Valdez-Scantling or Melvin Gordon for his flex spot. So you've got Melvin Gordon against the Titans or Marquez Valdez-Scantling against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So you and me talked about this a little bit before we got on air here about how much we don't even know if Gordon's going to see the field. There was some games where he saw the field, quite a few times, but then there was a few weeks where he only saw 16%. They're coming out of bye. It's going to be really hard to know what that offense is actually going to be doing, what they put in it during that week. I think I actually like Valdez this week with the high point total that Vegas has out with 51 points. So I expect a lot of points to be hung in that Jacksonville, Kansas City game. So I actually lead Valdez this week.
Yeah, I think I'd go Valdez-Scantling in this one as well. I mean, he's one deep pass away from outperforming Melvin Gordon each week. So I go Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
And before we move on, correct me if I'm wrong, was Hardman already ruled out or is he still game time?
Yes. Mecole Hardman is out this week.
Yes. So that absolutely opens up a few more targets, actually a lot more than a lot of people are noticing. Sure. Hardman's been the safety valve for Mahomes lately, one of a few.
Yeah, sure. David says Darius Slayton or Mac Hollins in full point PPR.
Ugh.
It's Darius Slayton for me.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm Texans defense. I'm not sold on them yet. I know they've been getting better each week. But, I think Daniel Jones has a serviceable week this week. I've got him as one of my prop bets that we're going to talk about later. But I really like him and Wan'Dale Robinson and Saquon Barkley this week. And I think Darius Slayton has a good game as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Darius Slayton here too. The Raiders offense scares me. Don't really know what to expect from them. So,
I mean, Hunter Renfrow is on the IR, so that does add some value to Collins
and Waller.
Yeah, correct, but I just think that the Colts defense is decent enough that they'll slow down that Raiders offense. So I think this is a Josh Jacobs game there for the Raiders.
Yeah, I'll take Darius Slayton out of those two.
Joe says Dolphins, Chiefs, or Raiders defense. So you got the Dolphins that have the Browns, you've got the Chiefs that have the Jags, and the Raiders that have the Colts. I'm going the Raiders here. I don't trust Sam Ehlinger yet. It's Jeff Saturday's first week as a head coach. That Parks kid is calling plays. That was their quarterback or special quarterback advisor, or whatever he was prior to this week. His first time ever calling plays. I think they go very conservative in Indy, but if Sam Ehlinger drops back to throw a pass, there's a chance for an interception. He's just young, unproven, and I'm not sure he has the talent to be an NFL starting quarterback much past this year. So I like the Raiders in this one.
Yeah, I like the Raiders also. I think this is going to be a run fest between JT and Jacob. So, yeah, I think it's going to be slow and steady, milk the clock. So not many points hung up. So I think Raiders are the safer play.
Amy says Williams or Swift. I'm assuming this is Jamal Williams and Swift. They're sharing a backfield. I still think I feel the same way I did about this that I did last week. Swift's going to be on a pitch count. And in that pitch count, he could take one play and take a 70-yard touchdown to the house. And it's going to be a lot of points. But I think Jamal Williams is probably the lead back again this week. He'll see more carries, probably more targets this week. So I think I like Jamal Williams probably still this week.
Yeah, I think Williams is a safer play. As you said, the pitch count scares me until Swift's back to fully, seeing that backfield. I have to lean Jamal Williams.
Chris says Gabe Davis, David Montgomery, or Rondale Moore, and then he's got a quarterback question. So out of those three, who are you feeling the greatest about there, Brant?
I'm actually going to lean Rondale Moore. They're in Arizona playing the Rams because Ramsey will probably lock up with Hopkins, leaving Moore open for more passes. But then again, if Kyler Murray doesn't play, that actually scares me a little bit. And they play the late cap. I think now that I look over this, I think the safest play is going to have to be Monty. He's going to get work. So yeah, I think I have to go Monty here, especially with Moore and Davis having banged up QBs. And yeah. I'm not expecting Murray to play.
Yeah, it's David Montgomery for me, and it's not even particularly close. I think if Kyler Murray was playing, I'd make the argument for Rondale Moore, but I just don't trust that Kyler plays. A hamstring injury on a mobile quarterback is a pretty big deal. So I go David Montgomery on that one. And then let's look at the quarterback side of this. He's got Trevor Lawrence or Jared Goff. I go Trevor Lawrence. I just think the Bears defense is pretty decent. Jared Goff's not been what he was the first 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
They've slowed down tremendously. Again, he lost one of his best weapons at the trade deadline in TJ Hawkinson. So I actually think I go Trevor Lawrence in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to lean Trevor Lawrence as well. I like Lawrence to be this week, like I said, to hang up quite a bit of points to stick with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Daniel says Tony Pollard or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So the good thing about this is you've got the Cowboys at the 3:00 slate, so you'll have plenty of time to pivot. But if Jerick McKinnon does not play, I go CEH. If Jerick McKinnon somehow plays, I think I go Tony Pollard. Even though that the Cowboys are going to force feed Zeke, I think I would rather have a guy in a 50-50 split versus a guy in a 33-33-33 split.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat there. Like you said, if McKinnon plays, I lean Pollard. If he's out, you go CEH with that. I'm in the same boat as you.
John says, good morning. First of all, good morning, John. Is Allen Robinson this bad or just overshadowed by Kupp? Man, I don't think Allen Robinson's bad. We've saw some great years out of him in his time in Chicago. But he sure hasn't been a part of that a focal point of that Rams offense at all this year. Man, I don't know if it's just a love affair between Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp that's, dragging this down or what, but it's not been good. I don't think I'd be starting Allen Robinson anywhere unless I absolutely had to.
Yeah, I don't think he's that bad. I'm starting to begin to think that maybe the system just doesn't fit his style of play. So maybe that's it. Or like you said, the love affair between Kupp and Stafford. Allen Robinson was a good wideout in both Jacksonville and in Chicago. So I don't think he's bad. I'm just curious if that system's just not fitting his style of play.
Garrett says half point PPR need wide receiver 3 and 2 flexes between Gabe Davis, Cortland Sutton, Michael Pittman. And he's got some running backs options for the flex as well. And Jeff Wilson, Kareem Hunt, and Raheem Mostert. So for me, honestly, this is going to be wild to say, but I'm going to do it right off the bat. I'm taking Michael Pittman completely out of this. We've got Sam Ellinger at quarterback. Jeff Saturday is the head coach. Again, I have no clue what that Colts offense is going to look like this weekend. And until I absolutely come out and see what that offense looks like, I just think you have to put Michael Pittman on the shelf for a while. So Cortland Sutton's the must start for me out of those first 3. And then I think I probably make Jeff Wilson a must play as well this week. So then really you just have that one flex spot to look at. And I'm not sure that I really like anything more than Michael Pittman, but man, I just have a hard time playing him. So Brant, be the tiebreaker for me here. Who's your starts on this?
And the flex are for the wideouts, I'm going Cortland Sutton out of those 3. And then I'm starting probably Jeff Wilson and Kareem Hunt in my 2 flex spots. I like Kareem Hunt there in Cleveland still. They're still, maybe not quite 50-50, but he's still involved at the goal line. He's still involved in the receiving game. So yeah, I like Kareem Hunt. And they play Miami, which is probably going to be a very high scoring game. So you could see Kareem Hunt getting involved quite a bit in that game.
All right. So Randy says Allen Lazard or Jeff Wilson for the flex and 1 point PPR.
Lazard. I like Lazard.
Yeah, I think the FatBoyz are in agreement on this one. I think it's Allen Lazard.
Yeah, Allen Lazard came out last week and proved to be Aaron Rodgers' favorite target, especially with Romeo going down and there's really nothing else catching the ball, and especially if Aaron Jones happens to miss this. I know he's trending upwards to play, but especially if Aaron Jones misses this game, Allen Lazard's going to be his favorite target by far.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan says a deep league, a bear waiver, injuries, and buys have me ailing at flex. First of all, Dan, it sounds like you're writing a scary story there starting it off. But Brian Robinson, Kadarius Toney, or James Warren in PPR. He also has Elijah Mitchell too. Jalen Warren, excuse me, not James. I really don't think those are horrible options, especially not for a bye week. I think Kadarius Toney eventually moves into being a pretty serviceable piece there in Kansas City. I know last week, he didn't have a whole lot going for him, but he hadn't had a whole lot of time to practice coming off the injury. They weren't necessarily rushing him along, I don't think. And then Jalen Warren, they came out and said they want to get the ball in his hands more. So really, I think those are all 3 pretty serviceable. Again, Brian Robinson's still going to get his fair share of carries. Even though Antonio Gibson has looked much better than him in the last couple of weeks. But, I think the safe play out of these, I'm going to leave Brian Robinson out just for a bit because the Eagles defense does scare me quite a bit. So you've got Kadarius Toney against the Jags or Jalen Warren against the Saints, which, again, that's pretty scary as well. But safety-wise, I think your safe play is probably Jalen Warren here. But your big play is Kadarius Toney. And if for me, when I play my flex, I like to sometimes take gambles in my flex spots. So with that being said, I think I probably go Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, I'm going to lean Kadarius Toney as well, especially with McCall Hardman being out. I absolutely like Toney this week. But yeah, like you said, the safer play is Warren. He's going to get a few touches. He's a guy that we've seen, have some breakout speed. But I like Toney this week in a high scoring game. I think he gets involved and I mean, if you get bonus points for, deep, long touchdowns, this is a guy that could break one pretty easily.
Absolutely. So Manuel says, I don't know, but I went McCoy and Walford in 2 crazy GPPS games. Maybe a crazy idea, but it's something I can afford to just lose. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing when you put backups in, and listen, these backups are both coming in. If both Stafford and Kyler Murray are both out, there's some very good weapons on both these teams for these backup quarterbacks. It's not like, the backups coming in and his best pass catchers, Marquez Callaway or something, like what we saw with the Saints a few years ago. So, I think both these quarterbacks could have fairly decent days. And it wouldn't surprise me to see either one of them, be a potential top 12 quarterback on the week just because of the weapons they have.
Yeah, it's not a crazy idea. I mean, especially if you can afford to lose, because like you said, one of these guys could end up coming out. Both these guys could end up, going crazy with the weapons that they have. So yeah, it's not crazy to start them. So I like it. Give it a chance. Who knows? Roll the dice and maybe it rolls out perfect for you.
Chris says Steelers, Cards, or Raiders. I'm assuming this is a defensive question. So again, I think with the Saints in the Steelers game, I'm not sure how I feel about the Steelers defense in that one. So I might leave that one as my one that I'm leaving out here. Cardinals are going to have a backup quarterback potentially with a bad run game. So the Cardinals are intriguing because of that. And then the Raiders, you've got Sam Ehlinger on the other side of the game. But I do expect Jonathan Taylor to get a decent amount of carries this week. So with that being said, I think I probably go Cardinals if Wofford plays. If Wofford doesn't play, I go Raiders.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. If it's backups there in Arizona and the Rams game, then I would go the Cards. But in the same boat, the Raiders in a run first matchup against Indy. Like I said, slow pace game, running clock. I got to go with the Raiders there.
Jennifer says Pittman, Samuel, or Campbell, or I can grab Peoples-Jones from waivers. Why do I have two Indy players? Paris Campbell and Michael Pittman have both been pretty good at some point. I do think at some point this season, my guy, Matt Ryan, eventually gets back on track. So, and gets the starting nod. I just think that's going to happen at some point this season. We'll see though. But out of the three you've mentioned, I probably do go Curtis Samuel. I know his target share has dropped a little bit with Taylor Heineke being the quarterback over Carson Wentz. But I think you absolutely drop Paris Campbell for Donovan Peoples-Jones. When Deshaun Watson comes back, I want any piece of that pass catching I can get. And Donovan Peoples-Jones plays the slot, a spot that Will Fuller used to play in Houston with Deshaun Watson, where Will Fuller would look like an absolute stud week in and week out. So I think you absolutely pick up Donovan Peoples-Jones if you can.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Donovan Peoples-Jones, the guy I'm going with. We've talked about it the past few weeks. This is a guy that to pick up and stash, especially with Watson coming back. I love Peoples-Jones. He's seeing work now with Brissett. It's only going to get better when Deshaun Watson takes over.
Okay. John says Monty or Palmer for the flex. So I think Monty's safe, but I also think Joshua Palmer is very safe this week too. And if Palmer does anything like he did last week, he's going to finish at the worst a wide receiver 2 on the week. So if you're getting a wide receiver stats in your flex, I think you can't go wrong with that. I like Joshua Palmer on this one.
Yeah, I like Palmer too in a game that has the ability to turn into a shootout pretty quickly. I absolutely love Joshua Palmer this week.
Jared said, just read an article from Scheffner that Allen could be a backup there, not showing their hand. Do I play Jimmy G? He needs a win.
Well, the plus side of that is I was actually just looking at one of my leagues where I have Allen in and I do have Jimmy G to back up, is that if it does come out that Allen's going to back up, then you can pivot to Jimmy G. But if Allen plays, you have to start Allen over Jimmy G in my mind.
Yeah, I think I'm in complete and utter agreement on this one. I think Jimmy G is going to give you a lot of valuable points this week too, but his upside doesn't reach even what a banged up Josh Allen is capable of. So I think, if you have the luxury to wait on this one until, game time, which you do with Jimmy G being the Sunday night game, I think you give Josh Allen every opportunity to play and be your starter until he's ruled out officially or as announced as the backup. But with that being said, if they haven't come out and said prior to kickoff that he's going to be the guy, I could understand putting Jimmy G in.
Yeah, absolutely.
David says Miami or Raiders defense. So you've got Miami against the Cleveland Browns and again, the Raiders against the Colts. Jacoby Brissett, Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, those guys are putting points up on the board. I mean, I know it's not necessarily as attractive as it's going to be when Deshaun Watson gets back there at quarterback for the Browns. But I think I still think the Browns put more points up and are capable of putting more points up than the Colts are this week. So I'd probably still lean the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm leaning the Raiders as well. Brissett's done a pretty good job of taking care of the ball, and we know that Chubb and Hunt on the ground are going to do a lot of work. And I don't know if Miami's going to be able to turn the ball over too much. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Raiders.
John says, got Swift and Williams, got to stay with Williams this week, right? Yeah, I think until we know that Swift is off of a pitch count and he's going to be the guy that they lean on, I think you go with Williams. There's just going to be more volume, and volume's king in fantasy football for whatever reason. Well, not for whatever reason. I mean, it's an obvious reason, but until we see Swift come off that pitch count, I'm playing Jamal Williams over him.
Yep, I'm in the same boat there. I'm taking Jamal Williams over Swift as of right now.
This is a strong boat this week, Brant, because you and I have been in a lot of the same boats together this week, and it ain't no inflatable raft because it's got to put up with some weight there. So this is even bigger than the Titanic, obviously.
Yeah, watch out for icebergs.
Yeah. Brent says Curtis Samuel, Michael Pittman, or Mac Hollins. I think Mac Hollins is intriguing just based on the simple fact that Waller and Renfro are out. But again, Devontae Adams is still there. I could see Devontae Adams having 15 targets this week to go along with 20 plus attempts for Josh Jacobs. So I think I go Curtis Samuel out of these three. Again, Michael Pittman would be the obvious one if Matt Ryan was starting, and Frank Wright hadn't been fired and all those things. I think it would be Michael Pittman, but we're just not at a point in the season where I trust this Colts offense a whole lot outside of maybe Jonathan Taylor if he's healthy, and even then, I don't know how much you trust him because he's not been great this year. I think I want to see a week of this Colts offense before I really start investing in it again. So I go Curtis Samuel out of these three.
Yeah, I'm leaning Curtis Samuel as well. I think he might have to be a safety valve for Heineke this week. So, yeah, I really like Samuel this week to be getting the dump offs, everything. Philly's defense is really good. Their number 1 and 2 corners are going to be on McLaurin and Dotson. So Samuel could see a lot of end arounds and some movement in order to get him involved. So, yeah, I like Samuels this week.
All right, Brent, we got a little bit of downtime here. Let's get into some of these player prop bets that we like. You want to kick us off with a couple you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna kick us off with one that's gonna have a little bit of 2 into it. I got Travis Etienne in the game against the Chiefs to go over 105.5 total yards, so rushing and receiving. He's, Kansas City's given up an average of 132 rush yards in the last 3 weeks and 102 on the year just rushing. And then to roll into that, I think he gets involved in the passing game a little bit more than he has been because they're going to have to put points to stick with the Chiefs. So I'm even going to sprinkle a little bit on a over Travis Etienne 3 receptions this week. So I like Travis Etienne this week. So I'm taking his over 105 total yards and his over receptions this week.
Okay. 2 that I'm going to hit real quick here, and then we'll get back into this later, I'm sure. I've got Travis Kelce over 7 receptions. Listen, he's been the guy for Pat Mahomes this year. I don't see that changing anytime soon. So I like Travis Kelce over his receptions. And then another guy I like to go over his receptions this week is Chase Claypool, the new wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. He was sprinkled in a little bit last week. He was targeted about 5 times. I think I'd have to go back and double check that, but I think it was 5. Including late in the game, Justin Fields was already looking for him. So I like him to go over 3 receptions this week. I just think he becomes a very big piece of that Chicago offense moving forward, and I think it starts this week. So,
yeah. Absolutely.
All right, John says full point PPR. He's got Christian Kirk or Brandon Ayuk. Where do you go here in that one, Brant?
I'm going Christian Kirk. He came back out, had a very, very good week last week. And they're playing against, Kansas City, who doesn't scare me a whole lot with their defense. There's going to be a lot of points hung up in that game, and I think Christian Kirk has to be heavily involved.
Yeah, I think honestly, even though I'm not the biggest Christian Kirk truther this year, and I've been a lot cooler on that than a lot of other people, I think you go Christian Kirk on this one just simply because of the fact that the Jaguars are going to have to pass this week, and I expect to see some good numbers for a lot of the pass catchers there in Jacksonville. Dan says, I've got Deshaun Watson stashed, but in the meantime, Russell Wilson or Danny Dimes?
Well, I absolutely love that you have Watson stashed. And so we're going to get into how I feel about Russell here when we get back to our prop bets here. But I still have to lean Danny Dimes. I think Danny Dimes is the safe play this week going against Houston. You don't know really what we're going to see out of Denver's offense. I know they're coming out of a bye, so they should be, well rested and everything. Plenty of high knees being done over the past week for Russell. But I gotta lean Danny Dimes on this one. They play Houston, and I think it's going to be the safer play.
Yeah, with the Denver Broncos coming out of their bye week, I definitely think that offense takes a big step forward. But I also have prop bets on Daniel Jones this week that I'm going to get into in just a second. But I think Daniel Jones is in line for a pretty good game this week. So I too think I go Danny Dimes in this one, but it's this one's a lot closer than it would have been even just before the Broncos bye week. So yeah, I definitely think that this is a good problem to have, especially Starron Watson getting ready to come back. So. Dustin says Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, or Dak Prescott. That's stacked.
Wow.
That is a very stacked problem to have there. I'd be looking to make a trade and getting rid of one of the three of these guys and seeing what I could get from a quarterback needy team. But I mean, man, this is just about one of the best quarterback questions I've seen here in recent weeks. You've got Justin Fields really breaking onto the scene here all of a sudden. Justin Herbert missing some of his pass catchers, but still been very good. And you got Dak Prescott. I mean, this is fantasy football heaven here as far as quarterback slots go. So I think this one comes down to matchup. Matchup for me, and I think I like Justin Fields' matchup the best out of these three. So I think I go Justin Fields.
Yeah, I absolutely love Justin Fields this week. I love his rushing upside. You've already brought in that you think Claypool gets involved. Cole Kmet's starting to get involved. That Bears offense is starting to build around him. So I absolutely love Justin Fields in his matchup this week against Detroit.
All right, let's get back into these prop bets while we got a few more minutes here, Brant. So you want to take me through the rest of yours?
I'm going to jump into my Justin Fields prop bet since we just talked about him. I got Justin Fields to go over 10.5 rush attempts and over 62.5 rush yards. Now, I got these props at 8 a.m. this morning, so they may have been moved up or down a little bit. But he's gone over these 3 of the last 4 games. Both he's gone over the attempts and his yards. They're starting to put more design rushing attempts for him. So I absolutely love Justin Fields. And the only time he didn't go over was the blowout against Dallas where, well, it was a blowout. So he had to launch the ball to try to keep up with them. And I don't see that happening in Detroit. So I absolutely love Justin Fields' props this week.
All right. I'm going to stick with the quarterback. I've got Daniel Jones over 225.5 total yards. This is another quarterback that likes to get out of the pocket and make plays with his legs. He's got some healthy pass catchers this week. Kenny Golladay should have a huge game with maybe one reception for 8 yards. But I just think that, there's going to be a lot of Saquon involved in the passing game. There's going to be a lot of Wan'Dale Robinson, a lot of Darius Slayton. I think Daniel Jones comfortably goes over 225.5 total yards this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I have another quarterback prop that I like, and it's Russell Wilson over 14.5 rushing yards. He's gone over this the last 5 games prior to the bye. They're putting in more design runs for him. Ever since, we heard about his high knees on the airplane, he's been doing a little more high knees in the game and getting out for some yards. I absolutely love him to go over 14.5 rushing yards. Tennessee has a decent pass rush. It's not the greatest, so he may have to scramble out of the pocket a little bit. So I absolutely love Russ to go over.
Sticking with the Giants, I have Wan'Dale Robinson to go over 37.5 receiving yards. I think this is another game where you see Wan'Dale Robinson be the focal point of the passing game in New York. And again, with the Giants hosting the Texans, I think this is a good one that you could see Wan'Dale Robinson really have a good game.
I'd be interested to check out Wan'Dale Robinson's total yards prop too, and possibly sprinkle a little bit on that because I know he does get involved in some end rounds and everything else too. So that'd be an interesting one too. But yeah, I absolutely love Wan'Dale Robinson this week.
All right, so Brant, what's your team's playing right now? My team's already played. What's in line for you on the noon slate today? What's a game that you're really looking forward to watching?
Jacksonville at Kansas City. I'm excited to see this. Both defenses are kind of so a lot of points, a lot of offense, a lot of fantasy relevance in my mind, which means I'll probably turn it on and it's going to be like a 7-0 game somehow, some way. But yeah, I'm excited to see the Kansas City Jacksonville game. So that's one of my favorite noon slate games.
Yeah, I was most intrigued by the Vikings-Bills game prior to all the Josh Allen issues, but I think that Jaguars-Chiefs game is the one I'm probably going to be tuned in for the most as well, just simply because of the high-powered offenses you're going to see in that one. So that's definitely one that's going to have my interest. Who's your touchdown scorer on the week?
So my touchdown score on the week is Amari Cooper of the Cleveland Browns going against Miami. I think he finds the end zone this week. It's one of the top point spread through Vegas, so there's going to be a lot of points should be coming out of that game. So I absolutely like Amari Cooper to find the end zone this week.
I've actually got Saquon Barkley. If you didn't know any better, you'd think I might be a Giants fan. That's not me. That is the producer, the man behind the screen pulling the strings. Josh Rodriguez is the one who's the Giants fan here, not me. But he definitely is going to enjoy all these things I'm throwing out here as long as I don't look like an idiot this week. So I've got Saquon to score a touchdown.
Yeah, I like it.
Who's your guy that's going to have just an absolutely monster week? Could finish number one at his position this week.
Well, I don't know if he'll finish number one, but I definitely think he's going to have a monster week. And we've talked about, their quarterback being banged up and not sure if he's going to play. And I like Singletary to have a very, very good week against the Minnesota Vikings. I know the Vikings are decent against the run. They're middle of the pack. But I like Singletary to be involved, especially if Allen does miss the game. I expect Singletary to be the main focal point of that. So I like Singletary to really break out this week.
Yeah, I've got Alvin Kamara as the guy, a guy that I traded away in one of my dynasty leagues this year. I think I think Alvin Kamara could be in line for a game where you could see, 60 plus rushing yards, 60 plus receiving yards, and a touchdown both on the ground and through the air for him this week. I definitely see this as a week Alvin Kamara could finish number one in the running backs this week.
Okay, absolutely. As we go into half of this Germany game, it's 14-0 to the Buccaneers up. Seattle is not looking good. So I don't know. I'm sorry, all you Kenneth Walker starters. He does not look good this week. Seattle does not. Their offense is looking a little stale. So
let's go through some of the stats of this game here real quick, just to update people in case they're not necessarily watching it real intently. You've got Geno Smith, who's completed 6 out of 10 passes, 69 yards, no touchdowns, no turnovers. Kenneth Walker, 7 attempts, 8 yards. DK Metcalf's really the focal point of that offense at this point. 3 receptions on 4 targets for 33 yards. On the other side of the ball, you've got Tom Brady, who's completed 11 out of 16 passes for 132 yards, 1 tutty. Leonard Fournette, who's had 12 carries, 48 yards, 1 touchdown, and right behind him is Rachaad White with 9 carries, 29 yards. Mike Evans, 4 for 4 for 49 yards. Julio Jones, 1 reception, 31 yards, and a touchdown. All right. So we've got some fantasy relevant stats there. There's a lot of fantasy relevancy in this game overall. And, if it's on the Seahawks side of the ball, unless you have DK Metcalf, you're probably not real happy with anything you've seen on that side of the ball. Obviously I didn't call Chris Godwin's name. So, if you have Chris Godwin and you started him this week, you might not be very happy. 2 receptions for 24 yards. Cade Otton, we've got to talk about it. Brant, you and I both thought he'd go over 22.5 yards this week. He's got 2 yards currently. So just needs 21 more to go, and we'll be right there with that prop bet we put out, which I still think he gets close.
Yeah, we put that prop bet out there on our fantasy, our FatBoyz Dynasty page as an early one. We put it out about 20 minutes prior to kickoff. Seattle's the worst against tight ends, so we both saw it and fell in love with that prop. It's not looking to be the greatest. But then again, there's still a whole nother half to play. And really, with Tom Brady throwing the ball and how bad Seattle is against the tight ends, he is only one catch away. I expect K-Dot to get involved more. I expect Seattle to go into half and make some adjustment on the defense, which means we'll probably make some adjustments and try to cover the wide receivers and leave K-Dot wide open to probably run rampant in the second half is what, will probably end up happening.
All right, so let's talk about what everybody truly tunes in for, what everybody really, really wants to know about. What's on the menu for this week?
On the menu is actually a basic one. I have a game to go coach this afternoon. So for dinner time. So we're going to have a little basic dinner whenever we get home. We're going to make a little Mexican style. We're going to have some nachos and we're going to have some tacos, but we're also going to I think we're going to do crunch wraps, our own makeshift version of that whenever we get home from the game tonight. Something fun for the family to all get involved with. Seattle's not playing at 3:30, so I won't be entirely glued to my TV yelling at everyone to get away from my TV and leave me alone. So that's where I think we're at with this week.
Yes, we started off with a bang. Me and the wife did some Christmas shopping last night, dumped the kids off at the in-laws. So we started out with some breakfast out to eat this morning. Good start to the weekend. We're doing some pizza for lunch, which it seems like pizza's on the menu every Sunday, which, hey, I can't complain about. And then wife's going to go out and pick up some Culver's for dinner for this evening. So we're going to have some butter burgers and some cheese curds for dinner. So
there you go.
Pretty good week for this fat boy as far as food goes. So.
Oh yeah, there you go. We didn't get out to get our shopping done because normally that's where our spread comes from. Is I normally go shopping Saturday night, but we had a lot going on yesterday, so we didn't get a chance to go out and do our shopping. So we're filling in the void with what we got around here today.
Again, Brant, I think that when you look at the slate of this week, we do have some pretty good teams on bye weeks, but there is still some very, very good fantasy relevancy. And of the games we haven't talked about yet, because I know we really mainly talk about the noon slate with our games to watch, but I'm extremely excited to tune in and watch this Colts game this afternoon. I don't know if anybody else besides, myself, I know you probably saw it, but Jeff Saturday's press conference actually absolutely had me tuned up for Jonathan Taylor. Listen, Jeff Saturday's a six-time All-Pro NFL center. So he's going to want that offensive line to look good, which helps Jonathan Taylor immensely. So I'm really excited to tune in and watch that Colts game this afternoon and see what that team looks like under Jeff Saturday's leadership. Definitely something that I'm intrigued by. And honestly, this is one of the better Sunday night games that we've had in quite a while as well. Definitely excited to see the Chargers traveling to San Francisco to play the 49ers. There's two elite running backs in the fantasy football world, and Austin Eckler and Christian McCaffrey playing on that one. I'm definitely very intrigued by that matchup as well.
Yeah, so with the Indianapolis games, Jeff Saturday, I know a lot of people have seen that video of Peyton Manning yelling at him to just run block and stop calling the plays. Well, I guess Jeff Saturday gets his chance to finally call plays there in Indy. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. And like I said, I think it's going to be heavily leaned on the running back. So I'm excited to see what running back can keep their team in the game, or if they're going to force these quarterbacks to throw. And I know, Derek Carr's missing a whole bunch of weapons. The other game I'm interested to see, and I know it sounds gross, but it's Mike McCarthy coming back to Green Bay with Dallas versus Green Bay. I expect this game to probably be an ugly one and Dallas to really put an onslaught on them. But it could turn into a good game. We know that Rodgers doesn't take too kindly to losing this many in a row, and he's back home, so this could turn into a good game. I'm not sure, but I'm actually excited to see what goes on with that. I know we slowly saw Lazard come out as the number one there this past week, so I expect that to continue, and I'd like to see if it actually does continue. So maybe we can get some trust in one of the pass catchers there, and then. As always, I'm looking forward to the Monday night game. with Philadelphia. I own a lot of stock in that. My fantasy matchup will come down to Monday night, as I have 3 people playing Monday night. So I'm excited to watch this. I think it's going to be a very good game, in division game. Normally those are either, a shootout game or both defenses show up and it's a low scoring game. So there's really no in between with it. So I'm excited to see how that game turns out this week.
I'm also very excited, and I can't believe you haven't brought this up yet, but to see what Kyron Williams looks like in his NFL debut for the Los Angeles Rams. I think he even gets more work if Matthew Stafford ends up being out for sure. So definitely another one that I'm tuned in for.
Yep, absolutely. Tony brought up a good question here with Thanksgiving food question. 1 must-have food and 1 food that you won't touch no matter what. To find one not to touch is kind of hard.
No, it's not. For me, the must-have is we do a cheesy potato casserole, and that's one of my favorites. Getting a little, this is just absolutely a staple of my fatness. Is I like to get those Hawaiian sweet rolls. Get one cut in half, slap a piece of ham on there, and then put some cheesy potatoes on top of it, and just mash on it like it's a little slider. And then the one that I think is I won't eat. I think the most overrated piece of Thanksgiving meals is the stuffing. I'm not sure anybody truly enjoys stuffing. I'm not touching the stuffing. It's disgusting. It's not happening. But I will eat the crap out of some cheesy potatoes.
Yeah, mine is actually I grab me some mashed potatoes and gravy because we always do homemade mashed potatoes. So that's one of my favorites. The one thing I won't touch, I'll hit back on my must-have, but the one thing I won't touch is any of that cranberry stuff. I ain't about that, and I don't know why my family still puts it out there. I'm the fattest one out of the bunch, and I eat almost anything. And if you put that in front of me, I'm normally sliding it off the table, and my dog won't even touch it. So anything cranberry, I'm not about. Now, the one must-have, I got to have me a smoked ham every year. I go out and I do it up in the smoker. I get it out there. I've actually been known when we move locations. There's been a few times where I've loaded the smoker up in the back of the car to make sure I get my smoked ham. So a smoked ham is always my go-to on Thanksgiving.
Fair enough.
Yes, Dickie, he absolutely does need some catches. This offense has got to start clicking. It's starting to look like the Seahawks that I expected to see this year. And that's unfortunate because they were starting to become really fun to watch. And I really hope this isn't trending the wrong way. I know it's a long flight over to Germany. I've been there. I've taken that flight. I've taken it with 4 kids, so it's not the greatest anyways. But hopefully the second half they get their legs underneath them and Seattle starts getting out and about and putting some points up.
Yeah, I think Seattle's defense or offense, has been good enough this year that they will they will get the ball in the end zone at some point. You just got to hope if you're Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, or Kenneth Walker owner, it's your guy that finds the end zone. But knowing Pete Carroll, knowing the Seattle Seahawks, it's going to be Will Dissly or Noah Fant that finds it first. So
it's going to be Colby Parkinson, where nobody's talking about.
It very well could be. The tight ends are a focal point of that offense as well. So I definitely think Seattle gets the ball back going here. But we will soon see.
Yeah.
Dickie says Giants defense or the Rams with Murray out. I'm
taking the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could make the argument for the Rams, but again, DeAndre Hopkins still exists. James Conner is going to have some run, whereas you got the Giants against the Texans, and the only thing that really scares me on the Texans' offense is Dameon Pierce.
Why do I keep forgetting the Giants are playing Houston? Like I go back there and go, I take that back. Erase my previous comment of the Rams because apparently I cannot remember anything. Apparently, I'm just a little upset this morning. Yeah, it's the Giants. I actually went out and picked them up in most league on their bye week last week on Monday, so I didn't have to wait through waivers. I'm going the Giants. I think they're the number 1 scoring defense this week because I think they do shut down Pierce or slow Pierce down, and the focal point becomes on Mills trying to throw the ball, and I think they create a lot of turnovers. I'm going with the Giants.
Absolutely. All right, guys. As always, we're wrapping up here. We got about 60 seconds left in case there is 1 or 2 more questions that sneak in here. But as your Sunday progresses and you start looking into your rosters a little bit more, if you have any more start-sit questions, don't hesitaate to jump on the Fantasy Holics Facebook page and join that start-sit post that they'll have going live here in just about 60 seconds as well. There'll be a lot of good, helpful guys on there that'll jump in and throw you some answers. So, make sure you're prepared for the rest of your Sunday slate. There is some game time decisions to keep your eye on too, as the injury news starts to come to the forefront here. Usually closer to about 12 o'clock Eastern time, we start seeing some of those guys officially ruled out and whatnot. So be mindful of that as well. And as always, have a good weekend. Hopefully you guys win some of your matchups and get some numbers from some of your fantasy guys this week. And as always, stay hungry
and stay fat, my friends.